We're going down to see the bees, and I think we've found the crossroads of the Iron Man competition.
Ah.
But I think the Iron Man thing was supposed to bring like 75,000 people to Chattanooga this weekend.
Wow.
Is this one of the guys right here? Is he gonna be a normal biker and take up the whole road? Just kidding, people. Yeah, you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be in that lane, Goober. But yeah, he's labeled there, isn't he, Barry? He's one of the competitors.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the bike phase. That's giving me feelings of slurp of Starbucks tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's swimming, biking, and running. No, we didn't bring breakfast. Sorry. Sorry. Sorry.
Destroyed one of them.
I'm gonna shoot it. Look, there's butane in there, Barrett. Look in there. That's what makes me mad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It still won't work. I wonder if it'll work if I...
Gets it on fire.
I didn't like that. Probably gonna blow up in my hand. Better be careful. Bear and I are hearing screams. That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
You reckon it's the ghost of people who died in the pasture from the bulls? Or is it the Iron Man competition?
Oh, yeah, it might be that.
The bees are going so crazy that, I mean, we've never seen them this active in the last couple of weeks. There's so many bees, I think I want to make sure they don't run out of room before winter. But what I was worried about was that there would be too much space in there for winter. Does that make sense? There's kind of a balance. You can't have a big old cavity they got to keep warm. So I am going to put one more frame in because we're going to check the last frame, and then we're going to check the feeder system to see how it works. The smoker's still going. Stop talking, Tony.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Got some ant action.
Ant action. I see, I was worried about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this board over here, and I'm going to try to turn this upside down and lay it on there. Think I can do it?
Yep.
Okay, what I don't like is seeing this ant activity. I wish I had my bee brush somewhere. You know, the bees are coming out from under there, see?
Well, that's just the ones that were...
No, I saw that one. This ain't gonna be easy. Oh, look.
That hadn't dropped any. Doesn't look like. Yeah. The plan worked.
I don't know, there's too many ants on there though. Look at that.
Maybe put something around the edges.
It looks like to me they have been taking it to a certain extent, but not a whole lot.
We hadn't taken that board out in forever.
I think what I want to do...
okay with me.
Yeah. I think what I'm going to do is move this over. I don't know, Barrett. Look, they haven't really filled that.
Yeah, they're on that one though, aren't they?
They are, but they haven't filled it out. I don't think it's this
really
is necessary.
Yeah.
To put that frame in. I don't think this is working.
You think it'd be more gone than that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to cause more problems with the ants than anything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back. And I think what we're going to do.
Check out these two hanging out with each other. That's interesting. Wonder what they're doing.
I think what I'm going to do is rethink this feeder thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this board over here, okay, like that. And not sure why it's not going together good. See all this propolis on there? Well, these boards aren't fitting together very good. So I'm taking the propolis off the side, and I'm going to run so I can push those together better. Okay, so then what we're going to do is kind of smoke these guys off, this board. And see, now this board will cover that. See, Barrett? There's just a little gap here. This part of the board will cover that, and I can kind of abandon this idea for temporarily. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
See all this propolis on here? Look. See that propolis?
I'm on you.
Now, if we had a bunch of that, it would be worth some money.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Alright, so what we're going to do is, so that they don't, we're going to experiment with just putting some of this in with the feeder. And hopefully, we got them pretty riled up. So.
Yeah, they're super interested today.
I think because of the weather, Bear, it's rainy.
Yeah.
And they're not many of them are flying, I guess. But what I want to get this into the hive instead of leaving it outside the hive. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape all this off. Hopefully the ants will go away. And I'm going to have to figure this out.
Look, I got one behind me.
Hold on. I don't see anything.
Okay. I'm just paranoid.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's just going to collect ants. Lay it on the tailgate and we'll talk about it in a minute. Well, I'm not going to call it a failure yet. I wonder, what do ants do in the winter? Do they hibernate? Or do they go on march? Looking for food. When I raised it up, re-videoing that part, there were not many bees in that little cavity. Remember, it was almost as if the ants were driving them away from it. Did you see that? The ants were on the edge of the board.
There were some indentions in the thing, like you could tell they were still eating it though.
Yeah, maybe in the beginning, but I think once the ants found it, there was a bunch of ants in there, okay? I don't think they like the ants. So, and I mean numbers, it's about numbers, you know. When the ants outnumber the bees, you got problems. So what I don't want to do is put something in the hive now when it's still warm to attract a bunch of ants. But what I did do, you can see I scraped out some and I put it in the feeder. They got plenty of water sources around here. There's a pond over there and a creek that runs to it. And then we put diatomaceous earth in the part where the bees are not existing to try to run the ants out that were already there. Most of the ants, for some reason, were gone by the time we got through, right?
Yeah.
Well, I brushed a lot of them out of the hive, and so I'm going to ask Derek to watch the video and then see what he thinks about this, and ask him about the ants during the winter, because obviously we haven't gone through a winter yet. But I don't want to waste this, so we're gonna wrap it up good and keep it. We may still use it for this purpose, or we may just make little patties out of it and put it in the feeder itself, because they can protect the feeder. There have been no ants in the feeder ever, right, Barrett? The bees can manage protecting the feeder, but the ants were coming on top, going under here. So I would have to like seal this. You know, that may be the thing, Barrett. I may need to screw this down and run a bead of caulk around it, and then only the bees can get to it. But we're not prepared to do that this time, so do it next time. So Barrett, you're becoming a real beekeeper.
Oh yeah. Didn't even hurt that bad.
Told you, man. It's not like a yellow jacket or a hornet.
Yeah.
Hurts really bad. It's funny because I felt a little, not even like a little prick on my back. I was like, okay, I either got one on my shirt or inside my shirt. Was it inside my shirt?
Oh yeah, it was inside.
And but you just pulled out the stinger, and no biggie. Yeah, it'll itch tomorrow. But when you start itching it, just make sure you got clean hands. You don't want it to get infected.
Yeah.
When you start scratching it around there. So
someone might be here.
It looks like somebody's here. The bulls are running. The running of the bulls.
Why don't you just put the new feeder in the bottom to where it's just not, you know, upside down like you would with a pollen patty.
Well, you know what happened with the pollen patty was that ants and other insects, I got, you know, like 1.5 inch space there, right?
Yeah.
So the ants still don't have to go through the bees to get to it, okay? The reason that there's no ants in the feeder is because the ants would have to crawl up through the bees to get to it. See?
So they make it elevated somehow then.
If you noticed, when we first opened up the hive, the ants were coming in on top and going down, going under the crack of the boards. They were not going through the bees to get to the Crisco and the sugar, right? So if I had that little joint sealed off, they would then have to go under the board like the bees do to get to it. And so
that makes sense.
That'll be one defense mechanism. The other thing is that hopefully during the winter, I'm thinking ants might hibernate. Do they hibernate? And we don't have to worry about ants.
That's what Tyson said.
The bees are flying like crazy. They're all over the place, so there must be something flowing. There must be something going on in nature right now that they're eating, because they haven't eaten much of it. So that's a good thing, though. See? So the closer we get to winter, I'm thinking we need to get closer to winter before we can really test it. But we'll come up with some way to feed the ants. I mean, feed the ants. Jesus, feed the bees. We'll come up with some way, even if it's putting just dried feed, you know, sugar or whatever inside the feeder, which is what I did at the end. I don't know how well you videoed that. Did you get video of that?
Yeah, you put it in there. Yeah. I
was putting the feed inside the feeder, so now they can get to it without the ants getting to it. So anyway, lots of talk, but I get all these questions. People even message me, you know. Sometimes they won't put it in the comments. They'll send me messages. Why don't you do this, or why aren't you doing that? And of course, you know, we're learning too, and it's good to get all the feedback. But the reason I did a lot of the talking at the end is because I'm trying to explain what our philosophy is and what we're thinking and what we're going to try to do next. So anyway, hasta la vista, baby. Nice.